Hello, I'm Stephan Schoess at the Risk Minds conference in Geneva and have the pleasure to talk to Stephen Allen from the Macquarie Group in Australia.
That's right.
And you give a presentation today how your bank developed over the last years, their risk culture, risk approach, etc. So could you give a short summary of these issues?
Sure, happy to do it. I guess one of the things for us is we've been around for about 40 years, and when we were formed, there were some core principles that were put together about how we should manage risk. And those principles have stayed with us over the years, and I guess when people ask me, you look back on the crisis, what went right, what went wrong, one of the things I find is that where we stuck to our core principles, actually we came through okay. We managed to remain profitable through the whole crisis, but that isn't to say we didn't write off hundreds of millions of dollars worth of assets. And I can point a lot of our failings where we just strayed from the path of what we see as sort of core. It served us well for 40 years. We think it'll serve us well for another 40 years.
Now, if I may ask, you were profitable, you survived. Was that luck?
Well, sure. Well, we're based in Australia, which sometimes calls itself the lucky country, and it hasn't had a recession for 20 years now, so that's all helped. I think, with all these things, there's always an element of luck as to how you come through these things, but I guess we again remind ourselves we've always positioned ourselves to live to fight another day. So our core principles, we think about worst case outcomes. We don't think about a 99% outcome or a 95 percentile outcome. We think about what could go wrong, how bad could it get. And the good news and the bad news is actually that all of our models said that the world could get worse. So I'm a bit worried about the next crisis, but we think that helped us to survive and then ultimately prosper. We have a history of coming out of these downturns, acquiring businesses at the low point of the cycle. We've done that in acquired Bankers Trust in Australia in 1999. We acquired the old Barings Brothers stockbroking business in 2004. Both have been very successful acquisitions for us. We made about 7 acquisitions in the last 18 months, and we're hopeful that they will form a basis for many good business for many years to come.
During the discussion that you had with your colleagues, I think one of your colleagues mentioned the term institutional memory. And to me, it sounds a little bit like fighting the last war. Like, okay, I need people in my risk group that remember long-term capital or the Russian crisis or whatever.
Yep.
What are your thoughts? Do we, in a way, fight the last war?
It's a good question, isn't it? And in my case, we have the added piece that we have a number of risk managers in Australia who've gone 20 years without a recession. So, but I think the thing that we think is important, you shouldn't fight the last war, but I think we would also say that the principles that could have served you well in the last crisis probably will serve you well in the next one. So that you clearly need to adapt them. The world changes and you need to think about it. It's interesting, a trader told me recently who came to us from another institution that he got caught on a particular issue, the correlation issue that lost a bunch of money, and he said, but the good news is I'll never get caught on that again. And I must admit I had the same comment back to him as, well, that's great, but presumably the next crisis there's going to be a different issue. So,
well, then we should hope at least it's not a severe one.
That's probably a good way.
Thanks very much.
Stephan, thank you very much.